All right, let's give it up for Sports Card Nation and his crew.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank Rob Bertrand for does this every year, does a great job, and David Geffen for giving us the time. And when I knew I was going to have 30 minutes up here, I said, I'm an ugly guy. I need some better looking folks up here with me. But and then we're in Atlantic City, and the guys to my right here, Tony and Oz from Cousins Collectibles podcast. I said I want to get some local flavor. That's a great show. If you're not listening to it yet, don't change that. And then to my left, Mr. Danny Black from Sportsbalt. Very good friends, and these are great guys, and wanted to have them up here. So, Danny has worked for the Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves organizations, dealer like me in the '90s, which just means we're old guys, and does a broker now and does a radio show in Baltimore on the air. So. And like I said, Tony and Oz from Cousins Collectibles. So I want to direct the first question to you guys. This is your first national. You walk in and then you come on the main stage. I don't know how often that occurs, but just your thoughts, your initial impression, walking in and for your first national and seeing everything.
Well, first off, thanks, John, for giving us the opportunity to be on here. If it wasn't for you, obviously we wouldn't be here. But just walking into our first national, it's crazy because, we're used to the smaller shows in Philly that we go to. It literally took us about 45 minutes to find the main stage. We asked everybody and their mom where it was. We went all the way down, came back around, obviously checked out some cards. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, like I said, again, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, and first off, we're not the real guys. The real Cousins Collectibles, they're without shirts. We beat them up outside somewhere. So we got to get this done before the real guys show up. But this is awesome, dude. And again, we appreciate you having us on. And I just echo what Oz said. The card overload is going to start soon. So as soon as we're off of here, we're off to the races.
And this is not Danny's first national, but it's the first time up here. Just what do you think about that?
I think that they did it much faster than I did. This is my fourth or fifth national. It just keeps getting bigger. The variety, the age groups, everything. I think it's getting better every year. So that's the thing that struck me this year. Last year we came out of the pandemic. This year, it's even more excitement in the room. So that's the vibe I've gotten in the first 2 days, and very excited. And thank you for having me.
All right, I see a couple people leaving, so I'm not below bribing people. I have free T-shirts after we're done, not before, after. So either stick around or come back in like 20 minutes, and then. All right, but first question, I want to talk about and get these guys' input. Obviously, is it's been a crazy 3.5 years, 4 years in the hobby. We've seen the trajectory go through the ceiling. Now we're seeing that kind of settle down and calm down. Just your guys' thoughts. What are we going to see in the coming year between this national and the next one in Chicago?
Go ahead. Well, I think the next thing that's coming up, it really, everything's going to be geared to collecting what you love. A lot of people, for the last couple years, it's all been about just trying to get the most expensive thing and investing and doing all these things to make the most amount of money possible. But I think a lot of the hobby's shifting now to where people are just going to be looking. And, whatever it is that you collect, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, Stranger Things, whatever it is, just something that, touches you. And again, you can, if you like it, you can still go ahead and invest in, whatever the best product is for that particular, thing. So, but at the end of the day, just collecting what you love. So that's pretty much.
Yeah, it's, as you said trajectory, because we always see this room is full of new players, right? Rookies and all that stuff. And that seems to be where sometimes a lot of people gravitate towards. I think we're going to get away from that a little bit to more stuff that's tried and true. I mean, so there's tons of vintage baseball in here. That's where I'm focusing at, and I think that as people learn the hobby, because you got to remember, a lot of these guys aren't going to pan out to what they're being hyped up to be. So that's just, and you learn that as you go along in the hobby. So it's just, I think that we're going to see a little bit more people gravitating towards the tried and true.
Couldn't agree more on the vintage. Absolutely, the shift is going there quickly. Over the next year, what I'm seeing everywhere, and this started with tickets, is people want a connection to the actual player or game. So every item that has authentic game-worn items, autographs, the ticket to the game, especially if it's a significant event, I think is going to blow away cards. For those of us that lived through junk wax and, have more 89 Griffies than I, could have ever done anything with, I think we're in junk parallel right now, and I think the production, the pop numbers are through the roof. When you have the Prisms, 3 of them now have 20,000 tens, coming out of PSA, I mean, that's overpopulation, so it doesn't matter what it is. When you look at the parallels on the total volume, literally 50 variations on some of the new Prism sets. That's not a collectible market. That's false maneuvering of the accounts. I think people are over that. I think base, I think numbered is not the future. Once again, the autograph gives that connection to the player. So I think the autographs, the memorabilia, the personal stuff. I see more people want to be with the athletes, actually an experience. Yeah. So I think all that is going to, like you said, much more to what you like, and the flippers and everybody in the last couple of years, I think they're going to go by the wayside.
I'll answer my own question. Before I do that, I'm going to give a couple of shout outs. I see, Danny's family here, I think there's like 30 of you, so thank you. Another great sports our podcast, our hobby podcast, Sports Card Nobody. Shane Norton is in the building. Thank you. Brody the Kid, who he owes everything to me. And no, I'm kidding. Brody's great, and he's the official kid of the 42nd National here in Atlantic City. Although I will argue that you probably have to give up that title, Brody, here pretty soon. We'll have like official teenager of the net. But I kid. I love Brody. I think my own tendencies. I've always done vintage, but the last couple years I've really put more emphasis on that, and I think I'm walking around even in the couple days I've been here. That's the vibe I get. Is there's a lot of people doing that. I saw one particular gentleman with a Pelican case, put it on a dealer's showcase, all new stuff, and he said, I want to get rid of this and just I like some of your vintage. Would you either buy my stuff or would you consider trading? I didn't obviously stick around to watch what the outcome of that was, but and I saw that a few times. So I think it's hard to just see a couple things and paint with a broad brush, but I do think that's where the market's going. But people like to say the hobby's dead. You look around here, if this is dead, I'm scared to think what alive might look like. But the hobby's not going away. This stuff has happened, for years, ups and downs. And people who, like Tony and Oz and Danny point out, people have passion. They're going to do it no matter what's going on, even outside the hobby. They'll find ways to adapt. We've got, tons of bargain boxes here, singles club. So whatever your budget might be, whether it's, 5 figures, 6 figures, or, $100, there's something for everybody here. And I always say, if it isn't here, it probably doesn't exist most likely. And, we got a card in the building right now, I think we all know, and some of you out there might know, at Heritage Auctions, that's probably going to bring over $10 million. It's a 9.5 52 tops Mantle SGC. And it's probably, it's going to be the most expensive card ever sold in the hobby for now, until who knows what comes along next. But
can I piggyback real quick off of that? So you guys had brought up the vintage, and I went right a little too fast on that. getting back to the population counts, vintage is the original limited population, and I think that's where the long-term excitement comes from. There's no parallels. There's no other versions, and there were obviously for historical reasons they were printed so long ago. They've become almost a historical item on top of that. So the vintage is strong to me on several different levels. It's a multi-generational item, and that's one of the things I think in cards and collectibles people enjoy is passing that down from one generation to another. And vintage gives you that option. I'm not going to wait for Mike Trout to become vintage. The population counts is really what drives the price, and I think that's one of the least understood things in the hobby is knowing how many of that card actually exist. You can take any graded card in the room and scan it and see how many of that card in that grade exist. That's virtually impossible with a lot of the modern cards. All the different grading companies and the overprinting, you don't get that. So I just want to turn back around. You guys had a great point. When you get into that vintage, it is a true population control, which helps that value go up. From a financial standpoint, the overall card market last quarter was down 25% on average sales. Vintage was only down 4%. So you compare that to a lot of the other financial numbers, that just shows you the steadiness within there. On top of that, I think you're going to have a lot of people that spent a lot of money in the last couple of years. They're going to have to sell a lot of product now, and I think you will start getting good buys. But vintage, and John and I were talking about this earlier, some of the vintage guys, their prices haven't gone down. I'm shopping for 55 Koufax, and they're more or less the prices I saw last year. So I think that's just something to consider. If you're looking for something, population count is a really important thing if there's financial interest.
I see Shane Norton nodding yes. I think he agrees with us. And that's the thing, walking around the show. I know you guys just got here, but I'll check back in with you later when you get but a lot of the dealers are, above comps. They don't want to, and I'm a dealer myself, not here. I'm not set up here, but when I do shows, I have to make the decision. I either got to price it at comps or don't put it out, right? Or don't bring it to the show. And, someone asked me, when are we going to see maybe dealers honor comps, if you will? And, my answer is they can put a price on whatever price they want. It's their inventory, their cards, right? We have choices as consumers to either, maybe ask them to go lower or not buy it, right? So, that's I'm seeing a lot of. I talked to a couple dealers today earlier, asking them how yesterday was, and they're like, a lot of people selling. So you can make what you will of that.
I'm going to argue just 1 second. Yeah. The vintage buyers were buying. So on top of it, that was the weird dynamic. No modern person was buying at all. Not one person on the beginning of the show.
It's almost the evolution of the collector. A lot of people came into the market these last 2 years expecting to get rich overnight. They got in all the shiny, new, flashy, on-card autos, all that good stuff, And it's almost like I said, it's the evolution. So once you start getting more experience in the hobby, you almost start gravitating towards that vintage. You know what I mean? It almost is like it's a maturation of the collector. And so, like you're saying, a lot of people, they got stuck with a lot of this new stuff, which isn't bad, to each his own.
How much were Zion-based prisms going for?
Too much,
yeah. But this is almost like the last hurrah for a lot of those dealers that have this merchandise. It's almost like, okay, yes, my comps are high. Let me see what I can get. And maybe by the end of the week, they're going to realize.
Do you think the consumer's gotten smarter?
Oh,
do you think that's part of the problem?
A ton. I think the consumer has come in, especially the last year, when they realize, again, going back to base parallels, and things like that, like it didn't make sense, the prices that people were paying for a lot of these cards. So people have gotten smarter, and like I said, they're maturing. So they realize, that base Zion Gem Mint 10 isn't really worth, what a Mantle vintage card would be. So.
Well, and like you said, they bought it for a couple $100, right, and now it's $25, or whatever it is. And how many can you sell to even feel good at night? You paid for grading, you paid for the card.
Yeah. You're just gonna have to take the hit.
You're underwater for years.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're either gonna hold that card and hope Zion goes to the moon, plays his ass off next year, and makes up for everything, or you just take the hit, say, let me get what I can get, and then take the money that you got and reinvest it into something.
I don't think younger dealers are accepting the hit.
I was about to say that's the thing. You got to realize you're probably going to have to take a loss. If you can't come to that realization, then it's just that card's just going to keep sinking and sinking and sinking. Then you're like, oh man, I should have tried to do something. Getting something is better than nothing.
I will. All four of us are dealers in some capacity, so I will defend them in this regard. At the National, I think you got to expect a little bit of a sticker increase, a sticker price increase. It's the Super Bowl in the hobby, as I call it. You're not going to have. This is the most people in the hobby in one place at one time in 1 week. You're gonna, that's kind of par for the course. And it's not just related to the cards. If you go to the concession stand, you can get an $18 chicken sandwich. So, I think
which is the same price of Zion right now.
So, Tony and Oz, I know, one of your big things, and it's also mine, right, is collecting what you love. We just talked about values just now for 10, 15 minutes, right? But collecting what you love and what you have a passion for. I know Ira said you're Philly guys, so you like your Philly guys. You pay respect to them. I'm a Brooklyn kid. So I love my Brooklyn guys. Shameless plug, I got to meet my basketball idol last night in Chris Mullin. I love that. I think we're seeing that movement, if you will, if you want to call it a movement, sort of grow more with sort of the price increase. And people just say, you know what? I don't have to, spend $1,000 if I don't want to or I can't. And I'm just going to buy guys that I grew up watching, whether it's live or on TV. I think that's great. You can't go wrong when you do that. I'm guilty of this myself. Sometimes we put too much emphasis on the prices of cards or what they're going to go for. If you want to talk a little bit about that, I know that's a big thing to you guys.
I mean, let's keep it real. You get into the card game, and the people that you invest in, you want to get something that you like, but you also want that card to increase in value. You don't want to get a card that's going to go, backwards. But at the end of the day, this is volatile. It could go up, it could go down. So if that's the case, you definitely want to get into something that you're going to appreciate and love. And, once you go home, look at your collection and not be disgusted with it. You want to go home and appreciate it, whether, it's your favorite player or, a favorite character in a movie or whatever it is that you decide to collect, or memorabilia. So, like I always say, if I go to see your collection, you invite Cousin Oz over to the house, I want to look at something that represents you. I'm like, oh, okay, you're a fan of Stranger Things, or you're a fan of Star Wars, or you're a fan of Mickey Mantle. That's your favorite player, whatever it is. Not just, hey, I got, this 86 Jordan, Gem Mint 10. I got this Zion Williamson. I got this nice patch card for, insert hottest football player. Just something that you can, just when you go home, you look at your collection, you just love it.
Yeah, that's and I'm going through it now. I'm buying cards, Nintendo cards. In the grand scheme of things, they're probably worthless to most people in this room. But to me, I'm like, you can come over and that's just a conversation. It's going to lead to, hey, this is what I used to do when I was a kid or whatever, and then it might open up something else. And that for us is huge. Like, we have our collections, and they're not multi-million-dollar collections. They're multi-million-dollar story collections, though. And at the end of the day, like, I see people nodding their head. That's what it's about, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I would love to have a 10 or 12 52 Mantles in my pocket. That'd be great. But I can't. So in the meantime, let's just talk about, hey, this card is this, and remember when we had this game, and remember this, and remember that. So yeah, that's
the connection with the event. Yeah, yes. that connection with the player. You're talking about who do you love. I mean, there's crazy people out there that collect Texas Ranger stuff. I mean, who would collect Texas Ranger stuff? And so, when you find somebody searching for 72 Texas Rangers, they don't have a logo on their hat. It's an ugly card to begin with. Who wants a 72 Texas Rangers card? But there are people who literally will walk this room and search through for 72 Texas Rangers cards. That's fantastic. That is the best thing you can have, is a passion for one thing and 500,000 square feet to go look for it. And if you can get out of here for $30 and a collection of something you love, that's a good show. If you want to sell it, also a good show, but enjoy it. I couldn't agree more.
I want to say, too, one thing I'm really glad to see here, I've been here 3 days since Tuesday, a lot of families, a lot of kids, right? I'm a kids in the hobby guy. I love it. I started as a 7-year-old in 1979. That's really sad to say because I do the math and I'm going to be 50 years old. But all joking aside, I love seeing kids in the hobby. But I'm seeing a lot of families, moms, dads, extended family coming to this event, taking it all in, and that's a good thing. And a little segue off that, following us here in a couple minutes, Pool Wax is going to do a kids hobby break. So speaking of kids, it's going to be a break geared right for them. So stick around, especially if you're a kid. For that, we're gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
So that means you.
Yeah.
So what's the age cutoff on that?
I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever it is, I think my son's in it either way.
I know Brody doesn't qualify. See him, he's kidding. But thank you everybody. I'm going to let each show here kind of give kind of where you can catch them, social media stuff. We appreciate you listening and giving us some of your time. We'll start with Cousins Collectible.
Yeah, so we have our podcast, Cousins Collectibles Podcast. We have on Instagram, it's Cousins_Collectibles. We've been in the game. We collected when we were younger, took a break, came back, when the hype, started again, and we just decided to start talking about the hobby, the cards, and things that we love. So it's just something that we do that we really love. So if you could check it out, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm just another one of the old guys who learned how to podcast after 30 years in the hobby. You can catch me on, I actually do live radio in Baltimore, 105.7, on the Odyssey app. Every week we do a show on the hobby. Love to get people to call in from all over with cool items. And the SportsBalt podcast, and I'm SportsBalt for Baltimore, at SportsBalt on all social media. And thank you for everybody for having me up here.
Yeah. Sports Card Nation, we're on Fridays. We release Fridays, I should say. That's an interview show. We have a guest every week for all walks of life from the hobby, from CEOs to 7-year-old kids, which is what it's all about. And a Monday show, which is shorter, called Hobby Quick Hits, which is the shirts. I'm going to give out a few here as we get off stage. That's Mondays. That's just me in shorter doses, which is safe for everybody. Most weeks, 20 to 30 minutes. I just usually pick a topic. We go over the week in hobby news and that sort of thing. So again, I want to thank the powers that be here that allowed us to come up here and hopefully be half entertaining. But Pool Wax is next with the Hobby Kids break. I got some shirts, like 7 or 8 various sizes. If someone is interested in one, we can sort that out. I see a hand raised. So all right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Stay.